What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So there's been a lot of The Conjuring news out there this past week. Not only did we get the first teaser for The Conjuring Last Rites, which is supposed to be coming out later this year, we also got, and we covered this, I believe it was yesterday, the fact that James Wan, who introduced us to the Crooked Man villain, briefly in Conjuring or The Conjuring Part 2, and we haven't seen the character since. We covered off on the fact that it's been 10 years since we've gotten that film, and he still has interest in bringing that character back in some way, shape, or form, perhaps in a solo film. Like I said, we covered that off yesterday, so if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. We do provide the link for that article in the description of that video. But I do agree, I would love to have seen or still see the Crooked Man come back in a solo film. Now, if you didn't know, the Crooked Man, I think there were probably plans for it at one time, but as you know, if you didn't know, the Nun, as you see here on the screen and in the picture here, one of the characters to the left, gained a lot of popularity and really took off. And I think the reason with that happening is the reason why we never really saw any more of the Crooked Man, and why we probably didn't ever get a solo film, which I think we were supposed to, but that was eventually replaced with the Nun. Now, with that said, though, we're going to be getting the 9th film thus far in the Conjuring universe, or the Conjuringverse. And they've come out and said that this is strictly, these 9 films is just phase 1, and they're gearing up for phase 2. And that's it. Very cryptic message as to what is phase 2 going to entail. And we talked about this a little bit in that video where there have been talks about doing a Conjuring TV series. Not sure what that even looks like as far as when that will take place, like what time period would that take place in, who would be the characters. Are we going to see returning characters, returning villains, so to speak, like the Nun? Could they somehow fold in the Nun or Annabelle, right? Or the Crooked Man possibly coming into this TV series. And if they're going to do a phase 2, do they take advantage of phase 2 and bring in a solo Crooked Man film, which I think would be probably the best way to go about it, because again, if you're going to gear up for phase 2, you need content for a phase 2. But all that to be said, I came across this article because, again, it's been a heavy week around Conjuring updates, again, with the teaser trailer, which we will be doing a teaser trailer review reaction that should be up later on today or tomorrow, so make sure to look for that in the playlist. But here the article headline is: the Conjuring creators consider bringing every villain together for an Avengers-style movie. And boy, am I glad they didn't do that. I think while that works for a film like Avengers, right, or for a film like with DC with the Justice League, that makes sense. We do know that the Pooniverse is going to be doing a Monsters Assemble. It's supposed to be coming out sometime this year. We reported on that, I believe earlier this year or late last year. We reported on that it's going to happen, where characters like Peter Pan from Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare will be one of the main villains that will be in that film. I don't want to see these horror franchises going down the path of something like this, where they feel they need to copy, so to speak, something that Marvel is doing or DC is doing. I don't think it's necessary, nor do I think it really works in a horror franchise like The Conjuring. Now, for the Pooniverse franchise, maybe, but I don't think those films were ever meant to be taken as serious as some of them are. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're very entertaining. I'm glad to see many of them, but many of them are not entertaining, and they are very, very bad. So let's jump into the article details for this here to see what they were thinking about doing. The Conjuring franchise has been quite the success for Warner Brothers, but Ed and Lorraine Warren will be calling it quits. I mean, those are the characters that are portrayed in the Conjuring universe. We'll be calling it quits with the Conjuring Last Rites, as this will likely be the last we see of the Warrens. The Conjuring producer Peter Safran told Entertainment Weekly that they toyed with the idea of going all out with an Avengers-style finale that would have included every demon they've fought throughout the series. So here's the quote. When we were developing the movie, we always called it Conjuring Endgame because it was a culmination of a great story that audiences had been with, Safran said. I'm not saying that our movie is the same as the Avengers Endgame run of movies, but there was something about building an audience through the storytelling mechanism through Ed and Lorraine Warren. Knowing that Last Rites was going to be the last one made us put a lot into it to make sure that it was an incredibly satisfying experience and a really emotional experience. So let's see if there's any more. Michael Chavez, who directed The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, The Nun 2, and the upcoming Last Rites, added, even as we were developing it, we were throwing a bunch of ideas out. How shamelessly big can we make it? How epic can we make it? Is this the culmination of all the demons coming to face them? Even though we entertained that idea for a minute, we stepped away. I felt strongly that the biggest, most emotional story we could tell was the most personal story. However, although The Conjuring Last Rites won't be an Avenger-style showdown, thank God, I just think that would have been the biggest mistake, and I think kind of a slap in the face to the hardcore fans for this franchise. Safran did tease that some familiar faces will show up. Quote, without any spoilers, we took the opportunity to maybe bring back some fan favorites, Safran said. You can watch this movie never having seen a Conjuring movie and have a total satisfying viewing experience. But if you're a little bit more of a dedicated Conjuring fan, there's a lot in this for you that maybe a more casual viewer wouldn't necessarily pick up. And then The Conjuring Last Rites takes place in 1986 and follows Ed and Lorraine as they come out of retirement to investigate the Smurl family haunting. And then it says the trailer is tomorrow, but this article is I think 2 or 3 days old now. And then it does mention here, phase 2 of the franchise is already being considered. So again, if you're going to do a phase 2, I think that's where you bring something like a solo film for Crooked Man to come about. But coming back up to this first, this quote here, I'm not saying that our movie is the same. Where is it? We always called it Conjuring Endgame. Again, I am glad that even if it was a thought for a minute, that someone had a clear mind and a head on their shoulders to say, yes, this is not what we should be doing with this universe. And if they would have done it, I wouldn't have been surprised. Warner Brothers is known for somehow managing always to shoot themselves in the foot, so to speak, right? To ruin a good thing. And I'm glad that someone, again, had the thought to say, hey, even though we thought about this for a minute, we're not going to do it. We shouldn't do this. It's not a good idea. So glad that didn't pan out, because I would not have wanted to see every single demon, ghost, villain, so to speak, in this universe showing up in this last film for them to somehow fight off all at one time. I think that just would have been a joke. I don't think anyone really could have taken the film seriously. And with it being their last go at this, give them that, that ride off into the sunset last, film in this series. I mean, it's been over 10 years since these two have been devoted to this franchise, and that doesn't happen that often. Typically by now, one or both of these actors and actresses would have been replaced with somebody else, and even then it would never have felt the same. So I am glad that both Patrick and Vera did stick with this franchise the entire time. Big fans of them both, so especially Patrick Wilson. I think he's a great actor. So is Vera. She's a great actress. So anyways, that's going to do it for this quick horror news update. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Would you have preferred to have seen an Avengers-style ending to the Conjuring universe, or what they're calling potentially just phase 1? Or would you have liked to have seen every demon, ghost, and villain to show up in this last one for them to fight off? Again, I'm not for that. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Later.